Southeast Asia is experiencing a transformative e-commerce boom, with Malaysia emerging as a key player in the digital revolution. With Blackbox Research has launched its latest white paper with the title of Grasping the E-commerce Opportunity in Southeast Asia, which sheds light on Malaysia's strategic position, abundant growth prospect, and the vital role of public-private partnership in shaping the nation's digital economy. And this report also highlights the key opportunities and challenges that are shaping Malaysia's e-commerce landscape, resulting from 30 hours of in-depth interviews with 17 leading voices in Southeast Asia in e-commerce and logistic ecosystem. Question is, how can Malaysia navigate and tackle the logistic hurdles and accelerate innovation to achieve its potential? And for that, I welcome you. Our guest ready on the line is David Black, the founder and CEO of Blackbox Research. I want to say thank you very much, David, for joining me. It's fantastic to have you here. Firstly, maybe you can share with us what is the purpose of Grasping the E-commerce opportunity in Southeast Asia white paper, and what does it reveal about Malaysia's role in regional e-commerce?
Hi, Nina. Thanks very much for having me. Yeah, we commissioned the paper and carried it out for a couple of reasons. Firstly, you know, a part of our work is looking at all the various trends that are going on in across ASEAN and across Southeast Asia. And this is a really rapidly changing landscape. As you probably well know, the pandemic was a real game changer for Southeast Asia. While we had some slow adoption of digital by consumers before the pandemic, through the pandemic we saw just a skyrocketing of the number of people who went online, started spending online, and as a result of that, the e-commerce sector really was really boosted. Secondly, we really wanted to drill down and look at what the competitive landscape is like, and who's leading, who's behind, who's best at certain things, because e-commerce itself is a kind of a pretty complex sort of landscape. So what we've really seen from the findings is that the experts and the analysts that we've spoken to really highlight the fact that there's a huge opportunity there, I think, for Malaysia to really take a leading way within Southeast Asia as one of the beneficiaries for this e-commerce boom. And there's a couple of things that we definitely found about Malaysia, which and what their role will be. I think, firstly, the strategic location of Malaysia, right at the heart of the region. Robust infrastructure, so the infrastructure in Malaysia is very good. And like I said before, this kind of rapidly growing digital adoption means that Malaysia itself is going to be well placed to really take advantage of e-commerce as we sort of hurdle through the next 5 years of the decade. Saying all of that, I think it's really important to remember that Malaysia, like many of the markets in Southeast Asia, are kind of middle-sized markets. So what the experts and the analysts seem to be saying to us is that public-private collaboration and partnership is going to be crucial to take advantage of the opportunities that lie there ahead, unlike in maybe some other markets in the world where it's really just been privately led, or in some cases just publicly led. Certainly within this region, and it's important to remember that that collaboration between the industry players, between talent, government policy and programs, etc., that's going to be really crucial if we're going to succeed.
All right, we want to understand a bit more on the e-commerce landscape. Maybe you can share with us what is the e-commerce landscape in Southeast Asia and even Malaysia, David?
Sure. Well, at the moment, as you probably know, I mean, we've got a fast-growing region. It's still a very young region, so I think there's just under 700 million people in this region. And the important metric I think you need to focus on is the growth of the middle class. So between 2013 and 2023, I think, you saw the what they define as middle-class households within the region grow from about 18% up to about 28%. In 2023. So that's going to keep going up. And so over the next 10 years, we're looking at certainly over 40% of the region being middle-class households. At the same time, we've also seen internet connectivity grow from less than 1 in 4 in 2013, and now it's over 60%, and even much higher in, and certainly much higher in Malaysia. In terms of what the landscape looks like at the moment, what the experts are really telling us is that if you go through all the ASEAN countries, at the moment, Singapore still sits at the top of the list in terms of being the number 1 e-commerce player. But close behind, we're seeing a competition between Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. And like I said before, Malaysia's key advantages appear to be the strategic location, infrastructure, got a good market size, and certainly a majority of our experts that we spoke to identified Malaysia as a pretty good or an easy country in which to carry out e-commerce activities. I mean, if you look at the sheer value, the merchant value of e-commerce is also growing year on year at about 15%. And so at the moment, you're looking at just under $160 billion in merchant value going through e-commerce channels and platforms. And that's going to keep growing very fast in the years to come. So certainly at the moment, I think it's very important to recognize that Malaysia is in a real grip of a fight with other markets for competition. It's still behind Singapore in areas such as advanced digital usage, government policies, investment money, and things like that. But at the same time, I think Malaysia has its own advantages, and that's what we've tried to focus on in the paper.
All right, David, that is some of the advantages that Malaysia have and can pursue forward. And what are some of the primary challenges in achieving in-commerce leadership for Malaysia?
So yeah, that's a good question, because I think one of the focal points of the paper is looking at what sort of advantages and disadvantages the various markets within the region do have. I think certainly, if you look at it from the very top, consumer preferences are evolving and becoming far more sophisticated. So in addition to affordability, you know, we all like value here in this region, and e-commerce or e-commerce platforms are no different. But also reliability has become a really important aspect of e-commerce delivery. With more and more competition, we're being told, and we've seen it in other research as well, the reliability of delivery, quality, all those sort of things are really important. I think some of the challenges that Malaysia is facing, which really also stem from its kind of strength. So firstly is, while the logistics are good, logistical costs can be quite high. And a lot of this sort of stems from the fact that you've got Peninsular Malaysia as well as East Malaysia, and so a lot of that can hinder efficiency. Delivery times in some places in Malaysia can be extended and not meeting kind of what customers want, and that can also drive up sort of business costs as well. So I think something like, you know, the rapid expansion of fulfillment hubs in different parts of Malaysia, particularly in East Malaysia, should be able to sort of reduce some of those costs, while at the same time sort of trying to meet better demand for same-day delivery. So same-day delivery is another area where consumers are really demanding kind of improvement. We're also seeing that, according to the experts, some of these inefficiencies and inconsistencies in service quality, especially in the logistics area, can erode some of the smaller business profitability. So that's causing, you know, that can cause losses and stifle local business growth. It's important to remember the role of small business, particularly on the logistics side, is really crucial, both as an employer, but also in terms of innovation, competition, and things like that. So that's really important. As an example, we saw recently, I think the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission sort of laid out a new guideline in December 24, talking about five ringgit base rate for parcel deliveries. So this is something that we'll need to watch. I mean, sometimes this sort of issue is being handled differently in different markets, but certainly within Malaysia, it's really important moving forward because of the opportunity there that that the guidelines and the collaboration between, I think, the big players or the major players the small businesses and the government is based around discussion, ongoing dialogue, better understanding how e-commerce is changing. So these are going to be important things moving forwards, because I think it's not just the domestic market that Malaysia will want to be looking at. There's a huge regional market there, which is up for grabs as well. And I think, you know, the more you get all the elements right in Malaysia, the better that places you for expanding and building regional business and opportunities as well.
And David, also we can see from the latest white paper reveal about the vital role of public-private partnership in shaping the region's digital economy. And in Malaysia context, how can the private-public partnership drive innovation and growth in Malaysia's e-commerce sector moving forward?
I think that's, I mean, I've touched on that a couple of times, Nina, and I do think it's important to both understand and reflect on that. Like I said before, that collaboration within this region, firstly, it's always worked historically. Governments and private sector have a history of working quite well. And in some of these emerging sectors, such as e-commerce, I think that's going to be even more important. Everybody needs to align. That will contribute to, I think, winning outcomes. I also think that because of the complexities involved in things like supply chains and logistics, customer service and all those sorts of things, and getting that last mile delivery right, as they like to say in the e-commerce space, it's really important that all the parties both understand each other, but also that the government particularly is understanding exactly how the commerce is evolving. I mean, I think it's been heartening to see, I think, in Malaysia that the communications ministry, particularly the deputy communications minister late last year, was talking about infrastructure improvements. So I think there's a real consciousness there amongst both the politicians and also the public servants about how important this is and what needs to be done right. But as I said, the experts are telling us that this collaboration, this private-public partnership, seems to be the secret sauce or the key to making this sort of work in the future. So I think my message that, you know, we're providing through this white paper is that being unified, working together, taking advantage of innovation and understanding innovation is going to be really important as we move forwards. I think it's fair to say as well, you know, all the discussion at the moment is about AI. AI is going to play a really crucial role as we sort of develop and move forwards in the e-commerce space. So it's really important that the government is up to speed with all the innovations that are going on and can partner and respond to those happening. But by and large, I'm quite optimistic. Certainly what we see from the paper is the experts see huge opportunities there for Malaysia. And I think certainly the takeaway is that there's something to really grab onto here and move forwards with.
And definitely it's important to overcome all these barriers will be critical to unlock the country's capability and solidify its position as a leader in Southeast Asia, thriving in the e-commerce landscape. Again, I would say thank you very much for this insightful sharing and discussion. Again, thank you, David Black, the founder and CEO of Blackbox Research, and definitely all of our discussion here will be featured in AstroAwani.com and across all social media platforms.